Interviews, commentaries, opinions, and analysis. Cameroon Calling is a production of the News Department of the Cameroon Radio Television Corporation, CRTV.
Mr. Tanyitiko Eno Achuobaye, Director General of the National School of Local Administration, thank you very much for accepting to talk to us on Cameroon Calling.
Thank you very much, Mr. Njemode Albert. It's a privilege for me to be with you once more.
Well, the process of the regional elections have completed the structures earmarked for an effective decentralization in Cameroon. I guess that is giving you of the National School of Local Administration clear ideas of the training programs to be offered.
Yes, I would want to begin by saying that we didn't wait for the process to end to start preparing the training programs. We have done a number of evaluations and a number of study of the institutions and the instruments put up by the Constitution and by the Code on Regional and Local Authorities. Based on that, we had already prepared a catalogue of training. The election that just ended just permits us to have more clarity and precision, taking into consideration the various profiles now that we know the people, both of the executives and the deliberative organs, to be able to better structure and tailor our training programs to be more precise. But the training programs and the training catalogs are already ready. In fact, they started going out to the local authorities last week. And so I think we are ready for that.
Well, the new organization grants a special status to the Northwest and Southwest regions, and I know many will be asking the question, what could be the training programs which correspond to this new dispensation?
Yes, it is important to first make a precision. The Northwest and Southwest regions have regional assemblies. The 8 other regions have regional councils. It is a very important nuance, because the regional assembly, the executive organ, is collegial, and they represent the regional assembly. In the regional councils, the council is incarnated by the regional chairman. The regional assemblies are bicameral institutions. So in terms of their functioning, they function differently with the shuttle between the two houses. It is not the same thing with the regional councils. And taking into consideration these differences, it is just obvious that in addition to the training programs that we will run for all the 10 regions, because decentralization is first of all national, we will also have to run specific training programs for the special status regions of the Northwest and Southwest, both for the regional executive and councils, but also for the staff, because it may have an impact on the way the staff do carry out their duties.
Have you been thinking about the traditional rulers of these two regions within the aspect of the House of Chiefs, who may not be as empowered as you will have with those who were coming as divisional delegates?
Well, I first of all want to say it's an interesting proposal, the new dispensation, because the chiefs have now moved from auxiliaries of the administration, go between their people and their ancestors, custodians of the tradition. They have now become elected officials. They have become politicians, let's call it a spade a spade. And in this regard, they represent an institution, both at the regional level. They represent the people of the region now, and they also represent the state, because they become institutional actors. And so this means that they too have to be capacitated to be able to better apprehend this new environment in which they have to function. At least for those who are sitting on the regional assemblies and regional councils, they have to learn a new environment, new skills, and so we think it's just logical that we should also think about training for them. If it is not very easy to think of them sitting in a classroom as students, we can, through seminars or workshops in collaboration with the regional councils or assemblies, tailor training programs suited for them. So we are open and we are waiting to be approached. But at the same time, we are on initiative in NASLA working on a proposal that we will submit to our supervisory authority on quick training for the regional councils before they effectively go into operation. We are wanting to do it very quickly, and we will be needing the support of our supervisory authority. But on the preparatory side, we are almost done with a quick specific training program that we can roll out at short notice if it is required by government and by our supervisory authority.
Now, Mr. Tanyi Tiku Eno Achubaye, as Director General of NASLA, I remember you are there since your appointment on March 25 last year. We are close to a year, and I know quite recently a budget of over 5 billion was voted, which to many isn't in consonance with what was earlier done, which was well over 2 billion CFA francs, and many could be asking the question, why this rise?
Well, Mr. Jembonde Albert, a budget is a vision. It is a statement of ambition. It is a projection. And so all of these things put together led us to the amount that you just cited. The board of directors of NASLA and the management of NASLA think that 2021 is the year to fully operationalize the school. In this regard, the needs of the school are quite significant, both in terms of infrastructure, but also in terms of equipment to be able to administer teaching in a quality environment with all the latest tools. Even the cost of teaching in a place like Boya, which may be a little out of the way, is more important than what you have in other schools that are around your own, where professionals who very easily teach in those schools are available. So all of these things led the government to take a decision to increase the resources put at the disposal of NASLA. I am glad to announce that in terms of investment, 1 billion has been earmarked for rehabilitation and extension, and the initial phase of the extension of NASLA to be able to increase the intake of persons to be trained. At the same time, the subvention of NASLA was raised to 700 million francs CFA. We are also currently in the final stages of a discussion on the minimum objective contract with the CTR, Ministry of Finance. I am glad to announce that the Minister of Finance has given his approval for 801 million to be put at our disposal within this framework, also for emergency rehabilitation and equipment. When you take this and you put it together with resources that NASLA itself can generate, be it in terms of organization of exams, continuous training, school fees for its trainees, and also part of the remainder of the emergency funds that the Prime Minister had ordered to put at our disposal at the creation of NASLA. The Ministry of Finance had already started making these funds available, and so we are going to be requesting that an additional amount of this initial donation, we will not ask for all because it will be difficult taking into consideration all the demands on the government at this time, but we also projected that we may also ask for part of this initial donation, and all these elements put together lead us to the figure of about 5.8 billion that you just cited, which, as I earlier said, are the projection of the ambition both of the government and of the management of NASLA.
I'm happy you are giving all these explanations, because to many it would have sounded like it was just a response to earlier criticisms that the sum of just over 2 billion francs just showed that government wasn't really interested in what was happening there. Did you really understand why these criticisms were coming from virtually all angles?
Well, I think that the people who made the criticism at the time were just expressing what they had heard around, because I had heard it myself. The moment we came out of the board meeting, some of the first reactions I received on social media and my phone calls were in that direction. So the media men were just relaying what they had been, they are societal actors. And maybe those people were voicing their legitimate demands or worries. But at the time, I had, in another intervention, requested that they should exercise patience, because the time had not yet come to judge what government's ambitions were for NASLA. And I think that patience finally paid. At the beginning of this year, from the budget that was recently adopted and the missions that that budget is intended to execute, it is clear that the government is really interested and concerned by the effective operationalization of NASLA, and so it has never been in doubt. These things take time to put in place, and so the necessary time was taken.
How soon the first competitive entrance examination into that institution?
Well, hopefully we will be having an entrance exam in the opening of 2021. The necessary paperwork and instruments to open the entrance exam have been forwarded to our supervisory authority. Discussions are ongoing at that level, especially on how to do a link between the entrance exam and the training and the local public service that is also being put in place simultaneously. And I think it was just logical that a little bit more clarity be brought to how the local public service envisaged, so that the transfer of trainees from NASLA into the local public service could be made more fluid and hitch-free. And I think that the instrument on the local public service having also significantly advanced in its drafting, we can, in the preparation of the entrance exam, already project ourselves having this instrument, the local public service, as template. All of this having been done, it will just be normal, I think, in the early phases of 2021 that we have an entrance exam into NASLA, all things being equal.
I guess you'll be putting a lot of focus on the fairness and credibility of such a competitive entrance examination, which has somehow strained the credibility of other institutions that we know.
Yes, I think that's a very important aspect. We have the luck of being a new school, and so our slate is still clean. And I think that as the Director General, what I can say is that the Director General and the management of NASLA, we will do our best to have a fair and entrance process for the entrance exam as possible, because I think it is possible to have a fair entrance process within the guidelines set down by the regulations in force. It is possible, and we intend to make that happen.
What are you doing to make sure that people really see? I know in less than 1 year, lots of people should be asking the question, CEFAM, NASLA, where has the personnel gone to? Is the working culture changed such that people can easily see the difference between CEFAM and not just say it's just a change of name?
Yes. We, first of all, concerning CEFAM, the issue of the staff of the former CEFAM is still outstanding. But what we as the management of NASLA has taken as decision is to do our best to transfer the staff of the former CEFAM to NASLA, because we think that it is not the moment, taking into consideration the specific context of the Southwest region, to have uncertainty as to jobs of people who had worked in the former CEFAM. And so in the recruitment process into NASLA, we are giving priority to the staff of former CEFAM. In fact, in the just ended week, we did a quick evaluation of their skills to see how best they can fit into NASLA. Because it is also important to us not to transfer the weaknesses of the former CEFAM to NASLA. So we want to make sure that if we transfer the staff, we transfer them into a position where they are best suited to help us attain the policy objectives of NASLA. It is very important. It is not an automatic transfer. And so I am very particular about moving this staff over to NASLA, but also ensuring that it's sustainable for the NASLA budget and that their skills permit them to be an added value to NASLA. Hence our evaluation exercise. We have also had the luck of having worked with them in the last 6 or 7 months. And so we have a clear idea of who can do what. I take the opportunity to commend them for having worked selflessly during this period concerning the careers and their future to help us set up the structures of NASLA. They have been very professional. And so the issue of the staff in the days ahead is going to be resolved. I hope to the satisfaction of both NASLA and the staff of the ex-CEFAM. We have had a number of meetings with them. We have been accompanied by the staff of the regional delegation of Labour and Social Security, the Ministry of Public Service, the National Social Insurance Fund, and the Ministry of Labour and Social Security in Yaoundé has sent us a representative. We have worked together on this and we have gotten an agreement on this issue. And so we are resolving it by the end of the year. The work culture has changed. it should change. It should change because if government took the decision to create NASLA, it is because they wanted a change from CFAM. And the change should also be reflected in the culture of the place. I think that if you had come to the former CFAM, it's not criticism of the former CFAM, and you come to NASLA, you will see for yourself that something has changed. You will feel for yourself that something has changed. And in the way we approach the missions of the school, we approach them differently. And so in all these aspects, I think that it is just good to say CFAM is gone, NASLA is here, and we're trying to make NASLA fully operational and performant.
Mr. Tanyitiko Eno Achobaye, Director General of the National School of Local Administration, thank you very much for accepting to come talk to us on Cameroon Calling today.
Thank you very much, Mr. Njemonde Albert. It was a privilege.